How do you create a website? Creating a website is rather simple. The fun part is adding the flair. Today we will go over the very basics of website development. By the end of this tutorial, you will be able to create a simple web page that you can view through your favorite browser. Web pages are written in a language called HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language. All web pages begin with HTML as their base, then more functionality is added through other programming languages such as PHP, C#, and JavaScript. To view a web page, you must have a browser installed on your system. Common browsers are Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, and Microsoft Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge. The browser must be able to recognize your file as a website in order for it to open your file and display it as a web page. Therefore, it is important that you save the file with an appropriate file name. The browser will recognize your file as a web page by the extension you add to the file name. Since web pages are written in the HTML language, they must end with an HTML extension. The home page of websites are often saved with the name index. As more functionality is added to your website, the extension will possibly change and may be other browser-compatible extensions such as PHP, ASP, or PL. To write code for any language, you must have a text editor installed. This needs to be a plain text editor and not one that has other background noise, such as Microsoft Word. There are many options available, some are free and some are not. Some are very simple with limited functionality, such as Windows Notepad, and others have many features, such as Adobe Dreamweaver. For today's demonstration, we will use Notepad++. It can be installed free and is perfect for beginners. Text Wrangler is a good option for Macintosh users. One of the benefits of Notepad++ or any development environment is having colored code. This helps in reading and navigating code and helps find syntax errors easier. To begin, we will create the home page called index.html. Let's first open Notepad++ and make sure we have a blank coding screen to work with. Then I want to save my file before I start coding, so the color coding feature will recognize the type of file I am creating. With Notepad++, I can write code for many different languages, and the color coding and syntax checking will be different for each one, so I must start by saving my blank slate with the appropriate file name, so Notepad++ knows which template to use to check my work. By clicking File, Save As, I am presented with a window where I can save my document. I will give my document the file name index, then click the down arrow to select the type of file I am saving. The extensions for all the languages are listed here, and since I am creating a web page, I will select the star.html extension. After clicking OK, I am ready to begin entering code. The first line of a web page is called the document type. This tells the browser which version of HTML we are using to display the page. There have been several versions of HTML over the years. The syntax has changed some for each version, so it is important to let the browser know which version the web page will be using. The latest version is HTML5 and should be the version you use for all new pages. Therefore, I will enter the document type as >!, doctype, HTML, >. The next line down will reinforce what language we are writing. It is entered as less than HTML greater than. After that, the remaining lines are up to the developer and what is needed to design the site, but for simplicity's sake, we will add a head, title, and body. Each of these sections are called tags. The tags tell the browser what type of information is contained. So, for instance, a tag called footer would contain the information that is to be displayed at the bottom of a web page. The head tag generally contains links, the title, search information, styles, and scripts, among others. The title tag I included is the text that will appear on the Pages tab at the top of the browser window. The body tag will contain everything you want to be displayed in the browser window. The information contained within the head will not be displayed on the browser, with the exception of the title showing on the tab. Most tags have an opening and a closing tag. This will help contain the information within the appropriate areas. The entire web page is contained within the HTML opening and closing tags. All the text that is to appear on the web page is contained within the opening and closing body tags. Everything dealing with the head section must be within the opening and closing head tags. Not every tag will have a closing tag, but most will. An example of one that does not have a closing tag is the image tag, less than img greater than. If you forget to add a closing tag, most browsers will forgive you and will still render your page, but the display results may not be what you were expecting, so it is always good to add both the opening and closing tags at the same time before adding text. The web page I will create will be a very simple one that has my name at the top in large letters and some text on the screen plus an image. To begin, I will create the tags I will need and then I will add the text. I will add the H1, P, IMG, and footer tags. Notice that I indent the sections that are nested to make it easier to read and follow the code. The text will then be added in between the opening and closing tags, such as Angela Spiegel for the heading. I love spending time with my family and friends and my two furry boys, Jack and Ratatouille. They are wonderful lap cats and know it is time to relax when I sit in my favorite spot on the sofa and cover up with my favorite red blanket. On weekends, I look forward to game night and playing triominoes, dominoes, hand and foot, and racquet while drinking Diet Dr. Pepper and having a snack. For the footer, I will enter copyright, ampersand, copy, semicolon, 2018. Then I need to add the information for my image, but before I do, I want to show you how easy it is to save and render the web page. Just click the File Save button, then display the file by clicking Run and select a browser to test with. The browser you select must already be installed on your system. If the page does not display, then make sure you named it correctly with the HTML extension, and make sure all your text is contained within the opening and closing body tags, and that all of your tags are spelled correctly. Since the browser uses the tags to determine what is being displayed, they are considered keywords for that language and therefore must be spelled correctly. Also notice that the text of the heading is larger and bolder than the paragraph text. That is due to the H1 tag I used. There are 6 heading tags and each one has a set size and format. H1 is the largest, then H2 is slightly smaller, then H3, and so on. After displaying the page, you can leave it up and return to Notepad++ to make changes to it. I will now add my image, then see the results. The IMG tag is slightly different because you use attributes and values to describe the image to the browser. You use the src attribute to tell the browser where it is and other attributes as needed. That is all I will add for now to demonstrate the functionality. After I save and run the page, you will see the image, but it is very large because the browser will display it based on the actual size of the image. It is best to use graphic editing software to reduce the size, but as a quick demo, I will return to my code and use the width and height attributes to reduce it instead. Once I add those sizes, save and run, the image is much more manageable. The page works, but it is very plain. The styling of the page would be achieved through CSS and behaviors through JavaScript, but those will not be covered in this video. When you are not working on the design and just want to show off your page to your friends, you can simply double-click the file. It will open directly in your default browser. I will now expand the site just a bit by adding another web page called cats.html. This page will need to be accessible from the home page, so I will add a NAV tag with a list of menu items to the first page and will add the same NAV list to the second page after I complete it. The text in your tags will appear on the screen in the same order you enter them in the code. So if I want the menu to be before the paragraph text, but after the heading, then I would need to put it here. I then must make the items clickable by adding an anchor tag around each one, less than, a, greater than, and add the href attribute to tell where the page is for that list item. I can now copy this NAV section to the second page. I have already created the text for this second page, so I will copy it in there now and save both pages and run one of the pages. I now have a menu bar I can use to click between my two pages.